Hello friends, in this section of neuroanatomy, I am going to describe the meninges of brain. I will describe the cranial meninges in detail. The spinal meninges will be described in detail along with the spinal cord. So let's start with the meninges of brain. Meninges of the brain is an important protective covering on the outer surface of the brain. Meninges of brain consists of three layers starting from outside to inside. There is dura mater, which is the most outermost layer. Then is the arachnoid matter, and most inner is the pia mater. Now in this, dura mater is mesodermal in origin and arachnoid and pia is ectodermal in origin. Arachnoid and pia are ectodermal in origin. The arachnoid and pia are together called as leptomeninges. So these are together called as leptomeninges. Dura mater is the toughest of all layers. So if you will see the dura mater, it is toughest of all layer. It is inelastic. It is inelastic membrane, which is fibrous and lying more externally. The arachnoid matter is avascular structures, and the most inner is the pia mater, which is vascular and is adherent to the brain surface. It is quite adherent to the brain surface. Now after this, I would like to give the details of each layer. So coming with the first layer, that is the dura mater. So I am here going into the details of the dura mater of the brain. So I am discussing cranial dura mater. Cranial dura mater is the outermost covering of the brain. It is quite different from the spinal dura because in case of the cranial dura, it has got two layers. One is endosteal layer and other is meningeal layer. So it has got two layers. Endosteal layer is continuous with the periosteum of bones and it merges with the sutural ligaments of the suture. The meningeal dura continues with spinal dura. It continues with spinal dura at the level of foramen magnum, and it forms a covering over the nerves, which cranial nerves and all nerves which are going out from the foramina. It forms a covering. It merges with the epineurium of the nerves. Now coming to the specializations of the dura mater. So what is special about this dura mater is that the dura mater, in case of cranial dura, it forms folds. So it will form a fold which is reduplication of the dura mater. It forms folds that is called as dural septas. Dural septa will divide the interior of the skull into the compartment. What is the important is that it will form hold of different part of the brain. Okay, it forms a framework for holding the different part of the brain. And at certain places, the dura maters, the endosteal dura and the meningeal dura separate to contain a dural venous sinuses in it. So containing with the specialization of dura mater has got four specialization. It forms four folds or septas that are flux cerebri. So they are flux cerebri, flux cerebelli, tentorium cerebelli, and diaphragma sella. There are four dural folds or septas: flux cerebri, flux cerebelli, tentorium cerebelli, and diaphragma sella. It forms a septa or compartment in the cranial cavity. So what we can see in this diagram, let me just highlight this diagram. So the first dura mater which I am going to explain is flux cerebri. So what I am encircling here is the flux cerebri. So this is the flux cerebri which you are seeing. It is the sickle-shaped fold of dura mater. So this fold which you are seeing is the sickle-shaped fold of dura mater. This is the flux cerebri which I have shown here in the diagram. This is the sickle-shaped fold of dura mater. Let me just highlight it with green color. This is sickle-shaped fold of dura mater. So it has got an attached border and that of unattached or the free border. So often the question is asked the attached border, where it is attached. The attached border, you can see the attached border of flux cerebri is attached to crista galli. The attached border of flux cerebri anteriorly, means it is the anterior attachment, is crista galli, and posteriorly what you can see, it is getting attached over that of tentorium cerebelli. So it is posteriorly attaching over, it is attached over tentorium cerebelli. Other important aspect is what sinuses this flux cerebri is containing. So right here, flux cerebri is sickle shaped fold of dura mater. Sickle shaped fold of dura mater. Anterior attachment is crista galli. This is about the attached border. What I am talking is about the attached border, and posteriorly it lies over, getting attached to tentorium cerebelli. Now the dural sinuses which it contains, the dural sinuses which is contained by flux cerebri are following. It contains superior sagittal sinus. It contains inferior sagittal sinus and transverse sinus. These are the sinuses which are contained by flux cerebri. It contains superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, and that of transverse sinus. So thereafter, coming to the other, now the next one about the other dural septa. So I will talk about tentorium cerebelli. This is tentorium cerebelli. So what I am talking about is the tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli. This tentorium cerebelli is tent-like shape. It has got tent-like shape. And what you can see in this diagram, let me just highlight this diagram. It has got two borders. One is free, another is connected border. So this whole is tentorium cerebelli which you are seeing. Okay, so it has got two border. One is attached border, another is free border. So it has got a concave margin and a convex margin here. So the attached border, it is attached to that of posterior clinoid process. So it is attached to posterior clinoid process and also to the superior part of petrous temporal bone, superior petrous temporal bone. And so coming to that of tentorium cerebelli, write on the attachment of tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli is tent-like or semilunar in shape. It has got an attached margin and a free margin. It has got an attached and free margin. Free margin is concave and it is attached margin. I will just come into the details of attached margin. Attached margin is anteriorly, you can say anteriorly. It is attached to posterior clinoid process and to, it is anterolaterally, means anterolaterally it is attached to posterior clinoid process, and it is also attached to superior petrous temporal bone, superior petrous temporal bone. And posterolaterally it is attached to, posterolaterally the attachment of tentorium cerebelli is, it is attached to transverse sulcus. Is attached to transverse sulcus. What is the importance of tentorium cerebelli, which I want to explain? Actually, tentorium cerebelli is a self-like dural septa, which is separating two important structures. It is separating the occipital lobe of cerebrum from that of cerebellum. So cerebellum is lying lower down, and at the upper part of it means there is a self-like structures that is called as tentorium cerebelli. Below it lies the cerebellum, and above it lies the occipital lobe of cerebral hemisphere. Means it is supporting the cerebellum from the heavy weight of the occipital lobe. It is forming a support that the cerebellum is not getting crushed by the weight of occipital lobe of cerebrum, because cerebellum is a small brain and that of cerebral hemisphere, you know, it is a it's called the bigger brain. It has occipital lobe is also heavier in comparison to that of cerebellum. So it is supporting the cerebellum from the heavy occipital lobe which is lying above it. So it is very important point, point for it to know the function of that of tentorium cerebelli, which all two structures it is separating. That is important. So the next important part is what it contains. So dural venous sinus, which is contained by the tentorium cerebelli, is it contains as we can see, it is containing the transverse sinus, and it is also containing superior petrosal sinus. Now, after that, coming to the two other, that is, one is flax cerebelli. So coming to the flax cerebelli, so let's first meet. It's not so clear here, but here is the attachment which you can see here will be the flax cerebelli. Actually, flax cerebelli is again, it is again a sickle-shaped fold of dura mater which is separating the cerebellar hemisphere. So write down flax cerebelli. It is sickle-shaped fold of dura mater, which is separating cerebellum hemispheres. Means cerebellum, it is forming a separation for the cerebellum hemispheres, and it is attached to occipital crest. It is attached to internal occipital crest, and it contains one sinus only, that is occipital sinus. Containing one sinus, the name of that sinus is occipital sinus. So this is the importance of flax cerebelli. Now coming to one more, the last dural fold, that is called as that of diaphragma sella. The last one is the diaphragma sella, and this is the area where diaphragma sella lies. So this is the location of diaphragma sella, and this diaphragma sella is actually, it is attached to the sella turcica. So it is attached onto the sphenoid part that is called as the sella turcica. So, and it is containing one important structure, that is pituitary gland. So coming to the next, diaphragma sella. Diaphragma sella is a dural fold which is attached to sella turcica. It is a fold which has also a gap in it. That gap is for the passage of stalk of pituitary gland, and it contains pituitary gland. What it contains, very important structure is lying in it, that is the pituitary gland. So we have discussed the four dural folds in the detail. After that, coming to the nerve supply and the blood supply of these dural folds. So coming to the blood supply of dura, mainly the arterial supply, I will explain here. The important arteries supplying the dura maters are vertebral artery, in branches from the internal carotid artery, branches from internal carotid artery, also branches from maxillary artery, also branches from ascending pharyngeal artery, also branch from occipital arteries. So these are the certain arteries which give blood or arterial supply to dura mater. Now coming to the nerve supply of the dura mater, next topic. nerve supply of dura. Now it's very important nerve supply of so many questions has been asked. This is very important MCQ questions has been framed from this topic. So in the NIT PG exam, so many MCQs has been framed from this topic, that is what is the nerve supply of the dura mater. So I will explain the nerve supply of anterior cranial fossa, middle and posterior cranial fossa dura mater. So the anterior cranial fossa dura mater nerve supply is from following nerves, that is anterior ethmoidal and posterior ethmoidal branch of ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. Now also from the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve and also from the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. So anterior, in short we can say the anterior cranial fossa dura mater takes nerve supply from all the three divisions of trigeminal nerve. Anterior and posterior ethmoidal branch of the ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve and maxillary and mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. Now coming to the middle cranial fossa. So middle cranial fossa dura mater. The middle cranial fossa dura mater takes nerve supply from following branches, that is the meningeal branch of maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. That is from the meningeal branch of the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve and also from the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. Again the meningeal branches from the trigeminal nerve mandibular division. Means, to be more specific, the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve is supplying the anterior part of the dura mater of the middle cranial fossa and the mandibular is supplying the posterior part of the dura mater. Of which part? That is the middle cranial fossa dura mater. Also it get nerve from the branches or twigs of trigeminal ganglion. So also direct branches from trigeminal ganglion is supplying the dura mater of middle cranial fossa. Now coming to the third part, that is the posterior cranial dura mater. So nerve supply of the dura mater of posterior cranial fossa. Following branches, that is from the upper pre-cervical nerves. So branch from the upper three cervical nerves C1, C2 and C3. Also from 7th cranial nerve, twigs from 9th cranial nerve, 10th cranial nerve and 12th cranial nerve. So these are the other nerves which is also giving branch to the dura mater of the posterior cranial fossa. That is the upper three cervical nerves, 7th, 9th, 10th and 12th cranial nerves. Also the tentorial nerves, other nerves, that is the tentorial nerves. So these all forms the nerve supply for the dura mater of posterior cranial fossa. This is very important as we concern for the NIT PG MCQs. These are very important topics for the NIT PG MCQs. After that, let's discuss the dural venous sinuses. So dural venous sinuses, before starting the dural venous sinuses, I would like to explain the general important features of these dural venous sinuses. Dural venous sinuses are valveless. Okay, means the blood can flow in either direction. There is no valves inside it, so the blood can flow in either directions. So first topic is, it is valveless. Write down dural venous sinuses are valveless. It has got no smooth muscle in their walls. Now the meningeal diploid veins, cranial veins, all these veins drain into dural venous sinuses. Other important aspect is that all these sinuses will ultimately drain into internal jugular vein. And other important aspect about this, other point of importance of dural venous sinuses is that ultimately through the connection of emissary veins, via emissary veins, dural venous sinuses can get infection from extracranial veins. Means the extracranial veins or infection on the exterior aspect can drain into dural venous sinuses through emissary veins. So these are certain important points about dural venous sinuses. Now coming into details of this dural venous sinus. So before starting the important dural venous sinuses, I just want to give you the list of paired and unpaired dural venous sinuses. This was also asked in an MCQs that which are the paired dural venous sinuses and which are unpaired dural venous sinuses. Now coming to the details of that, write on the list of dural venous sinuses, paired dural venous sinuses. So the paired dural venous sinuses are following. They are cavernous sinuses, cavernous sinus, spinoparietal sinus, spinoparietal sinus, superior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus, transverse sinus, and sigmoid sinus. So these are the paired dural venous sinus, list of paired dural venous sinus. Now coming to the list of unpaired dural venous sinus. So write down unpaired dural venous sinuses. Unpaired dural venous sinuses are following. They are anterior intercavernous sinus, posterior intercavernous sinus, occipital sinus, superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, and straight sinus. So these are the list of unpaired dural venous sinus: straight, superior sagittal, inferior sagittal, occipital, anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. Now just a brief of these sinuses. So coming to the brief of these sinuses. So in this diagram we can see some of the important sinuses. So like here, what we can see here, this is the superior sagittal sinus. So this superior sagittal sinus location is, it is lying on the attached margin of the flux cerebri. And what you can see here, so it is attached, it is the superior sagittal sinus which you are seeing. And on the free margin, what you can see is the inferior. This is the inferior sagittal sinus which you are seeing. So superior sagittal sinus is lying in the inferior margin or the free margin of the flux cerebri. Superior sagittal sinus will continue. What will happen? The superior sagittal sinus will ultimately lie over that of the tentorium cerebelli. It will lie over the tentorium cerebelli, and this superior sagittal sinus will continue into right transverse sinus. Now what we are seeing that this sinuses is lying over straight sinus. So this is the straight sinus. Actually straight sinus is formed by joining of great cerebral vein of Galen. So here what we will see, the superior sagittal sinus will continue into another sinus that is called as right transverse sinus. and straight sinus will continue into left transverse sinus. So this straight sinus will continue into left transverse sinus. Okay, so this is left transverse sinus. Okay, other sinuses which you are seeing here is the superior petrosal sinus. Here the superior petrosal sinus is here. Below it is the inferior petrosal sinus. Also we can see the inferior petrosal sinus. Inferior petrosal sinus, we can see a starting point of the sigmoid sinus. We can see the here, this is the sphenoparietal sinus. It is lying over the lesser wing of sphenoid. We are seeing intercavernous sinuses. So just I want to give you just a brief detail of each sinuses. So write down after seeing all these sinuses. Superior sagittal sinus. Location. Superior sagittal sinus is located into the attached margin of flux cerebri. So it is located in the attached margin of flux cerebri. It continues, superior sagittal sinus will continue as right transverse sinus. Coming to inferior sagittal sinus. Inferior sagittal sinus lies in the free margin of flux cerebri. It lies in the free margin of flux cerebri. And this inferior sagittal sinus will end over the tentorium cerebelli as you have seen here, and this is continuing. It will continue. It will get joined by great cerebral vein of Galen, and ultimately it will continue into straight sinus. Straight sinus. And the continuation of straight sinus is that the fate of straight sinus is that it will continue into left transverse sinus. It will continue into left transverse sinus. So coming to the other sinuses, so sphenoparietal sinus. Sphenoparietal sinus lies over lesser wing of sphenoid. It is related to lesser wing of sphenoid. Other small sinuses like occipital sinus. Occipital sinus lies in relation to flux cerebelli. Okay. Other sinuses, that is superior petrosal sinus. Superior petrosal sinus is there. There is inferior petrosal sinus. The superior petrosal sinus lies on the superior petrosal bone. It is connected, it is lying very close to that of clinoid process and superior petrosal vein. Actually, it forms a communication. It is connecting cavernous sinus to transverse sinus. Superior petrosal sinus is connecting cavernous sinus to transverse sinus. And inferior petrosal sinus is connecting again cavernous sinus to internal jugular vein. So coming to other transverse sinus, now there are two transverse sinus. One is straight, one is the right transverse sinus. Other is the left transverse sinus. Now the right transverse sinus is continuation of superior sagittal sinus, and the left is continuation of straight sinus. There are two sigmoid sinuses, right and left sigmoid sinuses, and this sigmoid sinuses, which is located in a groove between that of petrous bone and that of clivus part of the clivus part of that of sphenoid bone, there is a location that is called clivus, and this sigmoid sinuses will ultimately passes through jugular foramen. It will pass through the jugular foramen and continue into internal jugular vein. Now there are one important sinus is cavernous sinus. So this cavernous sinus is located on either side of body of sphenoid. It is located on either side of sella turcica. This cavernous sinus, I am not going into details of this cavernous sinus because this is a topic which is very important and I will explain it details in as a other subtopic. So after completing this topic, I am going to detail cavernous sinus in detail because so many MCQs has been framed from this topic. So we'll study cavernous sinus in detail. Also there are intercavernous sinuses. Intercavernous sinuses, that is anterior and posterior, which is connecting the two cavernous sinus. It is connecting the two side cavernous sinus with each other. That is called as intercavernous sinus. So I have just detailed all the sinuses in the brief. Thereafter, coming to the next layer, that is arachnoid matter. So before coming into the next layers, let's discuss some of the MCQs related to the topic. The dura mater, as I have already explained the nerve supply of the dura mater. So here the question is, the dura mater is supplied by all cranial nerves except. So I have described the 7th, 9th, 10th and 12th cranial nerve is supplying the posterior cranial fossa dura mater. So here the answer will be 4th is the trochlear. So also trigeminal, ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular branches were also giving nerve supply to dura mater. So the right answer will be the 4th, that is trochlear nerve, is not supplying the dura mater. Now coming to the second MCQs. All of the branches of the 5th cranial nerve will supply the dura except. So I have seen anterior ethmoidal and posterior ethmoidal. You have seen in the discussion part that anterior and posterior ethmoidal nerves are supplying the dura mater of anterior cranial fossa. Mandibular branch is also supplying. So the correct answer in this condition will be oculotemporal nerve. So this is oculotemporal nerve is not forming nerve supply for the dura mater. Oculotemporal nerve. Now coming to next question, which of the following is not true about the dura mater? Dura mater is the outermost layer of cranial meninges. The first option, it is correct. It has periosteal and meningeal layer. Yes, it is also correct. It is supplied by branches of 5th cranial nerve. It is also correct. The C option, that is dural venous sinus, lie below the meningeal layer. It is not the correct answer. As we have seen, dural venous sinuses is lying between endosteal layer and that of meningeal layer. So or between the reduplications of the meningeal layer. So it is not lying below meningeal layer, but it is lying between the endosteal and meningeal layer. So this is the option which is correct for the third MCQ. All of the are paired venous sinuses except. So I have given you the list of all the sinuses which is paired and unpaired. So here superior petrosal sinus, yes, it is the example of paired one. The second option is inferior petrosal sinus. It is also example of paired dural venous sinuses. The superior sagittal is the right answer because it is unpaired. It is not paired. So it is the right answer for this MCQ. And transverse sinus is also 2. We have got right transverse sinus and we have got the left transverse sinus. Here the right transverse sinus is a continuation of superior sagittal sinus and the left one is continuation of the straight sinus. So the correct answer of unpaired dural venous sinus will be the superior sagittal sinus. Now, after discussing all these questions, let's discuss the arachnoid matter. Now, coming to the details of arachnoid matter. Arachnoid matter it is lying below the dura mater. It is avascular in nature. So, it is avascular layer lying below the dura mater. It is containing what it lies. Now, the dura mater and that of arachnoid matter. In between these two layers lies a space that is called a subdural space. The subdural space is containing capillary fluid. It is containing capillary fluid. And what is important is that arachnoid matter is forming arachnoid granulations. So this arachnoid matter is forming arachnoid villi, which is very much prominent in superior sagittal sinus. and aggregation of, this is finger-like projections. This is finger-like projection from the arachnoid layer or arachnoid matter, which projects and perforate the dural part and get entry into the subarachnoid space. And it is important for the absorption of CSF. The aggregation of arachnoid villi, forms arachnoid granulations. This will form arachnoid granulations, which is also called as Paconian bodies. Arachnoid granulation, other point is called, it is called as Paconian bodies. Now, it is important for the absorption of CSF. Thereafter, at certain places, what happens? This arachnoid has got, what happens? Below the arachnoid matters, the innermost layer is called as the pia matter. Okay, so between the arachnoid and the pia lies the space that contains subarachnoid space, and the subarachnoid space contains CSF. At certain places, what happens? This subarachnoid space is dilated, forming cistern, because it is containing sufficient amount of CSF that forms a dilatation. And at certain places, it contains important arteries or veins. So I will just describe all types of subarachnoid cistern. So coming, this is the diagram which is in which you can see the different type of subarachnoid spaces. So let me describe all of these arachnoid spaces in detail. So what is the first pink color structure which you are seeing here? So the pink color which is seen in this diagram is the pericallosal cistern. This pericallosal cistern is lying over corpus callosum. So it is lying on the superior aspect of, corpus callosum, that you can see in the diagram. It is lying on the superior aspect of corpus callosum. It is encircling the corpus callosum. You can see here, this is the area, which is the area of location of corpus callosum. And above the corpus callosum, this pink color structure which you are seeing is the pericallosal cistern. Now, the second cistern which you are seeing is that of cistern of lamina terminalis. Okay, so let me just take darker shade of it. So this is cistern of lamina terminalis. So this is the cistern of lamina terminalis. So the cistern of lamina terminalis is lying just anterior to that of lamina terminalis. So cistern of, let me use different colors, cistern of lamina terminalis is lying anterior, or you can say ventral, to lamina terminalis, and it is lying between, frontal lobe of both the side. It contains two important arteries, that is anterior communicating arteries and that of anterior cerebral artery. So it is coming, it is the cistern of lamina terminalis is lying just anterior or ventral to lamina terminalis. It is lying between the two frontal lobes, it is lying in between the two frontal lobes of cerebral hemisphere, containing anterior cerebral artery or anterior communicating artery. So we have discussed this also. Now coming to chiasmatic cistern. Now chiasmatic cistern, as you can see here, it is lying just, what happens, this is the chiasmatic cistern. So let me just take a green color for this. So this is the location of chiasmatic cistern. Okay, so this chiasmatic cistern is just related to optic chiasma. Okay, so this is the actually, to be more specific about chiasmatic cistern, is that chiasmatic cistern is actually the prolongation of interpeduncular cistern. So let me just highlight this interpeduncular cistern with some other colors, like we can use some other color for it, like light green only, this other shade of green, we can use it to differentiate it. So this is actually interpeduncular cistern. So this color is used for interpeduncular cistern. Okay, so interpeduncular cistern is lying in the base of the brain, and it is containing one important structure, that is the circle of Willis. So interpeduncular cistern is containing circle of Willis, which we have discussed in detail about circle of Willis. and the anterior prolongation of it is called as chiasmatic cistern. Now lower down with yellow color, can you see there is another cistern that is called as pontine cistern. The location of this pontine cistern is on the ventral aspect of pons. So pontine cistern lies on the ventral aspect of pons. Pontine cistern is located on the ventral aspect of pons and it contains basilar artery. What it contains? It contains basilar artery. So I am writing BA for the basilar artery. The other cistern that is in orange color is the quadrigeminal cistern. The quadrigeminal cistern is very important. Quadrigeminal cistern, the big cistern, irregular cistern, which you can see is in the orange color. The exact location of quadrigeminal cistern is, it is lying below the splenium part of corpus callosum. So this is the splenium part of corpus callosum. So exact location is, it is lying below splenium of corpus callosum. It is lying below splenium of corpus callosum and above the cerebellum. So the location is below the splenium of corpus callosum and above the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. So above the cerebellum, that is the location of it. And it contains important structures that is called as great cerebral vein of Galen. It is containing great cerebral vein of Galen. These all location, what it contains, it is often a very important for MCQ. So you should know what important structures lies in the cistern. So the quadrigeminal cistern, also called as cistern of great cerebral vein of Galen, it is containing the great cerebral vein of Galen. Along with it, it can also contains posterior cerebral artery, its branches, that is posterior choroidal artery. It can contain superior cerebellar artery. It also contains superior cerebellar artery. It contains fourth cranial nerve. It is related to fourth cranial nerve. Also to inferior sagittal sinus. It is also related to inferior sagittal sinus. So these are the details of that of quadrigeminal cistern. The next cistern which you are seeing is in the violet color. This is medullary cistern. So this part is the medullary cistern. This is lying just on the anterior aspect of the medulla. The other cistern is called as the cistern magna. So this is with the red color. This is the cisterna magna. Now cisterna magna is the cistern which is also called as cerebromedullary pontine cistern. It is also called as cerebellomedullary cistern. Actually, if you see the location, this cistern is, that is cisterna magna, is located below the cerebellum. It is located in a space between the cerebellum and that of medulla. So cisterna magna, no space here, so I am writing here. Cisterna magna is located in a space between cerebellum and that of, here you can see it is lying cerebellum and the medulla. It is lying in a space between the inferior aspect of cerebellum and that of medulla. And what it contains, that is important. It contains vertebral artery. It contains vertebral artery and that of pica artery. Pica artery means posterior inferior cerebellar artery. So it is containing vertebral artery and that of posterior inferior cerebral artery. So the next important cistern which I would like to describe here is the supracerebellar cistern. Actually, the supracerebellar cistern is actually the continuation of this interpeduncular cistern. Actually, what happens, if you will see, this supracerebellar cistern is very small cistern, not of so much of clinical value. Only when the surrounding tumors is there, it becomes evident. It is actually continuing lower down. It continues with the pontine cistern. It lies on the space between the middle cerebral peduncle and that of the part of the cerebral midbrain and that of dorsum sella. This supracerebellar cistern is between the part of the cerebral midbrain and that of dorsum sella, and it is, and lower down it is continuing with the pontine cistern. So this is the supracerebellar cistern. So we have discussed all this cistern in details. Some other cisterns is also there, that cistern of lateral sulcus, which contains middle cerebral artery. There is one cistern which is called a cistern of lateral sulcus or Sylvian sulcus, which contains middle cerebral artery. So it is important, as we discussed about this all cistern and what it contains for the MCQ, NEET PG examination. So many MCQs has been framed from this topic. The last of this is the pia mater. The pia mater is a transparent vascular structure which is the innermost structure lying. It is very much adherent to the brain surface. And there is too much formation, there is modification of pia mater of that of spinal cord, which we will discuss in the spinal cord part. In the cranial pia mater, it forms a sheath for the vessels entering and going outside or emerging outside from the brain surface. It forms a sheath for that all vessels. It also forms choroid plexus, forms a choroid plexus, take part in formation of choroid plexus. Also form plex form a sheath for cranial nerves. So these are the important. It also forms, it get inherent with that of fold and fissures of the brain. So it forms, get in-depth fissures and folds. Pia mater is mostly adherent. It's quite difficult to remove the pia from any structures on which it is adherent, that is the brain surface of the spinal cord. With this, I have explained all the cisterns, arachnoid mater, pia mater. I have discussed some of the MCQs of the dura mater. I have discussed all the dural venous sinuses, important relations and where it lies, the dural folds, how it is formed and what it contains. So this is important topic. So many MCQs has been framed from this topic. Also very important is the nerve supply of the dura. So I have discussed all the blood supply and also I have discussed the nerve supply of dura, which often is asked as an MCQ in the NEET PG exam. Thank you.